If you're a musician making music in a home studio, you need a bass guitar. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Band Guide. I'm your band guy, Colin, and today we're talking about that guy. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I typically have a different guitar behind me. Today we're talking about the bass guitar and why you need one in your home studio. It is such an important tool if you want your music to sound professional. But before we get into that, I want to give you something to help your music sound more professional, and it's completely free. It's my 6-step checklist to a pro mix that just walks through the 6 steps that all professional mixes have and how you can do them. If you spend a lot of time writing and recording your song and you're just not happy with how it's sounding when you're taking it out to a car or Bluetooth speakers or headphones, wherever it is, you're just not happy with how it's sounding, this 6-step checklist is really going to help you, and it's completely free from the link in the description below. So be sure to pick it up. But let's go and get into 3 reasons why every home studio needs an electric bass. Reason number 1, virtual bass guitars sound incredibly fake. If you've tried them in GarageBand or Logic or Pro Tools, wherever you're making music, they just don't sound real. I'm sure there's some out there that sound better, but most of them sound really, really fake, and in my opinion are a dead giveaway of an amateur production. And there's no reason to not get an electric bass other than the cost, but they're not prohibitively expensive typically. And getting an electric bass, the only thing you need is the bass and a cable, and you can plug it straight into your interface, run it DI, use virtual amps or no amps even. Sometimes just a DI bass signal is all you need. So there's not a lot of gear that you need for it, and it's gonna automatically level up your productions and make them sound less amateur. Now, you may or may not be thinking, yeah, but I can't play a bass guitar, and that leads me to reason number 2, which is that bass guitar is incredibly easy to learn and to play, at least at a basic level. Sure, you could be Victor Wooten and do some wild stuff, but at a basic level, they're really easy to learn and play. I am primarily a drummer, but I will never hesitate to record bass on a song because it's not that complicated, at least for a basic bass line. Let's actually take a quick second. I'm going to pull that bass down, and I'm going to give you a couple tips if you've never recorded bass. And even if you have recorded bass, these tips might help you out. Okay, the first tip I would give anyone who's starting out on the bass guitar is to just focus on these bottom 2 strings. You can do most any basic bass needs in a song with just those bottom 2 strings, plus the tone gets different on the bass as you move up in the strings, and these bottom 2 are pretty similar and consistent in tone. So a lot of times I try to record bass, at least the primary bass line, on the bottom 2 strings, unless there's like a little flourish or something that needs to go up. But you could do more or less everything you need on these bottom 2 strings. And if you've never played a bass or guitar before, all you need to know about that is that it's just E for the lowest string, assuming you've tuned it, and then each fret is a half step. So you can count up from E just in half steps. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. You know what I mean? Just find the notes that you need. Same thing with A here. The second string is A, again, assuming you've tuned it. And you can just go A, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, you know what I mean? You can just keep counting up in half steps to figure out the notes that you need. That's all you really need to do. And a lot of times I will do all my bass lines just on those 2 strings. So whether or not you've ever touched a bass guitar, you could probably record bass guitar on your next song. It doesn't take that much effort, and it's actually pretty easy to edit after the fact. Assuming you've tuned it and your performance is somewhat consistent, you can usually edit it to sound much more professional than a virtual electric bass in a song. Okay, the third and final reason that you need a bass guitar in your home studio is because it will unlock a new type of creativity. And this is something I've heard from all sorts of people who had never really played bass before. It's not their primary instrument, but when they start playing it, they kind of figure out different things than they would have if they'd stuck on their primary instrument. It unlocks this creativity switch. I don't remember where I heard that idea, but because we're doing something different that's musical in the same way that we're making music, but it's different, it's going to unlock different ideas. So I'm primarily a drummer, but I've written some really fun bass lines that we've used in all sorts of songs over the years that sometimes actually end up becoming the guitar line, but I initially write it on the bass because I don't have an inclination to play a chord on this. I'm only going to do a string or 2, a note or 2 at a time. I'm going to write a different type of line than I might if I grabbed a guitar and was playing around with it for the same amount of time. So for example, right? It's just a different type of thing than I might do. I'm probably not going to do that on a guitar, but that's actually a cool guitar line as well, and it might just add different elements into your song. And a fourth and bonus reason that I'm going to throw in for you is that you can do some really cool things that help boost the energy of your song with an electric bass that you just can't do other ways. So for example, one of my favorite things to do is just to slide up an octave, and you can just go up. This is an octave on an E where it has 2 dots on the fretboard. I don't know if you can see that on there, but 2 dots right here. And then you can just, if you're in the 3rd fret, just go up to 3 above that point here. And then I know that I'm going up an octave. So if I'm writing on this G, I can go up to this G here. And it's just so much more exciting than if I just stayed on this G. So there's all sorts of cool ways to help move your song forward and get more energy in your track. You just got to get an electric bass guitar. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I have no idea what bass guitar to get, I'm actually going to do a review on this bass guitar. Michael Kelly was cool enough to send us this bass guitar, and I think it's an awesome bass guitar. This is not a sponsored video. They did not pay me to make this. They just sent me the bass and said, if you think this is cool, share it with your people. And I think it's an awesome bass. And I've played a lot of basses, and it's actually at a great price point. So in the next video, I'm gonna do a full review of this. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, be sure to grab the 6-step checklist to a pro mix. It's really gonna help your music to sound more professional, and it's completely free from the link in the description below. If this video was helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next week with a review of this Michael Kelly Vintage Element 4 bass guitar.
One thing at a time.